This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi there. In today's episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, we've got the last of 3 episodes where I've honed in on ACT and mindfulness principles. This time we're author of the book Torn, Overcoming Psychological Challenges Post-ACL, Keagen Hadley goes on to share his experiences and his wisdom in relation to dealing with those difficulties of suffering from a serious injury and the subsequent recovery, as well as some relationship struggles he had at that time. Full episode 124. Well, it was a fascinating listen, as is this short bite where he tells you it's okay to not be okay, and you can't think positive all of the time.
So one of my issues personally, and a lot of the issues I see with my clients, is they have a lot of cognitive fusion, which is essentially, it is like when you have an emotion, a lot of people tend to use the verbiage, I am sad, I am mad. And that's called cognitive fusion. You're essentially fusing with your thoughts. And one of the first skills of ACT is defusion. And it gives you that space to evaluate your thoughts and kind of decide whether or not it's a useful or a not useful thought. So an example of that would be, I'll use my own personal example, through my experiences is I have a perseverative thought that is, I am broken, whether that's my severe anxiety or, through the emotional abuse or my physical injuries, I always had the I am broken thought. And after I went through ACT, I was able to make that first step, that first little bit of progress, which was changing it from I am broken to I am having thoughts or feelings that I'm broken. I am, myself, not broken. Those are just thoughts. And, we can't control thoughts no matter how much we want to believe that. We think all kinds of crazy things every day, but getting to, evaluate whether or not that thought is useful is a very, very important skill.
So essentially, in order to manage those real lows and with your emotions there, you've distanced yourself from those thoughts by using ACT. I'm aware for the listeners, those that do not know what ACT is, and we've just literally just jumped in there. We've got acceptance, commitment, therapy. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just give a brief summary there around, ACT first, and then we'll dig in a little bit deeper?
Yeah. So a lot of your audience is probably very familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. That's a very common psychotherapeutic modality. And what I would say is it's very much like that, except for CBT posits that, if I'm thinking I am torn, I'll keep with that same example. If I just mindfully change that thought to a positive one, or redirect that thought to a positive one, that's all it's really looking to do is it focuses primarily on getting rid of the negative symptomology associated with your mental struggles. And I had a very difficult time with that, especially as an athlete. If, you or a therapist were to tell me, hey, don't think I am broken, think, about your favorite pie or your favorite vacation place or whatever the case may be. I couldn't not look at it. It's like I am one of those kind of people. If you say, hey, don't look over here, I will look over there, and I'll repeatedly look over there. And that's the same thing with my thoughts. So it was able to, it has different goals. So it's not trying to reduce, feeling bad, because feeling bad is part of life, and it's learning to sit with those negative feelings and grow from it. And what can you learn from that? Because pain and hurt are very, very important to the human condition. It tells you what you love, because you're only having internal pain if it's, you lost something you love. And if you're able to evaluate that and learn from that situation, you can only grow as an athlete or as a person.
So Keagen talked there about cognitive defusion, where you promote psychological flexibility and you create distance from your thoughts in different situations, and how cognitive diffusion facilitates a more objective perspective, a different perspective on your thoughts. It then goes on to empower you to relate differently to your situation and the thought processes that surround it, with greater openness and adaptability. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of how I support athletes in this regard. We're going to start again with serious injuries, which unfortunately happen an awful lot. So perhaps you've received some bad news from your surgeon. You're ruminating on those thoughts. You feel close to despair. So it's not a nice place to be. Yet, again, it is normal. So what could you do? Well, this may sound counterintuitive, but you could smile, or at least half smile. It's amazing how rather than spending all of your mental energy battling those thoughts, battling that situation, by making peace with it, by smiling or half smiling, you can stop engaging with those thoughts and it can shift your perspective. A little bit strange, I imagine, when you're close to despair, but it can help. Then from a performance perspective, this time of year I work an awful lot with cricketers and golfers who can get annoyed a lot, an awful lot. So the batter in cricket might lose their temper when they play and miss, or play a rash shot. The golfer often gets annoyed with a double bogey or a 3-putt. And simply noticing the red mist, or the rage, or the why did I do that type of thoughts, and then potentially taking a slow walk, a stroll, walking away from the crease, or walking slowly along the fairway or to the next tee box can be a great way just to take the sting out of the situation, to create some distance from those thoughts. So why not give that a try this coming week? And also get yourself signed up to the Mental Edge newsletter, where every 2 to 3 weeks I share other valuable bits of advice and many resources to help you. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.